Friends, this is Jeff. This is our second dive into the Enneagram wings and the shared space between the numbers. This posted last January on our Patreon, which you can find at aroundthecircle.org. In fact, much of our best stuff is at aroundthecircle.org and well worth going and signing up for a free membership. You're going to get lots of free stuff, links to great interviews, opportunities. For example, right now we have an open invitation to free and paying members to join our summer discussion panels on your type. We just want to record with the 5s. We want to record with the 7s. We want to talk to you. We want to hear your insights into your Enneagram type, your pattern. We want to see you connect with other people of your same type so that we can explore the insights, depth, what's most interesting about your number. And that's only available at aroundthecircle.org. So while you're listening, just click on the link in the show notes. You can sign up for a free membership. May all good things be yours. Funny. Well, that's what I got on the 2s and 3s. We can pivot to the other side of the heart.
I think that's great. 3s and 4s.
3s and 4s are the hardest to find common space for me. I know what it is, but I think it's hard. Go ahead.
Yeah, I could never talk about this until I started talking to 4s. And the things they would say that I was like, oh, I feel that too.
Yeah.
But it was so hard for me. Again, so Joey Shuey will say, if you ask her about wings, she says there's only 2 places they matter. I don't know if that's the exact wording she would use, but it's 3 and 4. And she says a 3 with a 4 wing specifically, not a 4 with a 3 wing, but a 3 with a 4 wing, because it is, I want to be accepted and I will make myself into whoever I need to be accepted. Mm-hmm. With a wing of, I want to be authentic all the time. And she says a 4 with a 3 wing is just a little more showy about their authenticity, right?
Yep.
The other place she says it matters is a 9 with an 8 wing. Again, the other 8 with a 9 wing, it just kind of softens the 8 a little bit. But then a 9 with an 8 wing is I want to avoid conflict all the time. And with a wing of you are stepping on me.
So good. And
that's really, really hard. So I imagine when we talk about this space and then between 8 and 9, it's going to be kind of hard. But I do think we share a lot of things with 4s.
Just as a brief footnote again, and I have yet to tell you this, but when I edit your podcasts, when you interview 4s, they exude warmth and I like it's at the level where I'm kind of jealous because I'm like, these people podcast better with Katie than I do.
I love interviewing 4s.
The connection and the understanding, complementary understanding, really came out in your interviews with the 4s and those friends. So anyway, yeah, do your notes. So the thing we're going to be talking about here, again, is the feeling center, but it's going to be an internal direction of shame. So shame going into you, which to me, the word that I'm using for this space is significance. I think an internal direction of shame means that you want to prove that you have value as you are. And you just kind of feel like you don't, but you want to prove that you do. And so it is really about who I am as I am. I have to find a way to prove that I have value. So 3s and 4s both talk about significance a lot. When I started talking with 4s on my podcast, all of them talked about, I want to leave an impact on the world. I interviewed a lot of musicians, funnily enough, when I talk about 4s. And all of them are like, I want to write a song that people remember, right? I want to leave an impact on the world. And at first I was like, that sounds so 3 to me. But I actually think it's that internal, like, proving to yourself that you have value, right? Yep. The external is let me prove to you that I have value. Internal is I want to prove to myself that I have value. And so both of us talk about wanting to leave a lasting impact. Both 3s and 4s, we want to know that we change the world for better. We want to know that when we're gone, the world will be better because we were here. And I think we both really feel shame when people don't understand us. I do think that's true with 3s and 4s. The big difference here and why 3s and 4s look so different and why sometimes it's hard for us to get along when we're unhealthy is because the 3's reaction to that is, well, I'll do whatever I have to do to give myself value. And 4s are so
interested in authenticity.
Yeah, won't
that
sacrifice.
they're not going to create a false self. But the 3s will create a false self, and then we'll believe that really gives us value, even though it doesn't. I'm actually with the 4s here. It doesn't really give you value. But that's what I see here. So we're both wanting personal significance. We want to leave an impact on the world. We want to prove to ourselves that we are who we want to be.
I think all that's right. I think 3s can offer the world what they need to offer in order to get attention, but the 3 really wants the world to see some of the more authentic things that the 3 is truly inspired by.
Yeah.
And so there are some things that the world naturally validates. The 3 will be very aware of that and can shift. But the sweet spot would be if I can pitch the things I really care about in a way that is seen and validated. That would be, I think the 3 longs to merit the attention through the things that the 3 themselves loves and sees as part of their inner life. And whereas that's just the wheelhouse for 4s.
Yeah.
And the 4s are saying to themselves, I don't know why other people can't see this amazing thing, but won't shift into the gear of giving the world what they want.
Or can't, right? You're not hardwired to, right?
Yeah,
Just that's what the 4 personality is. You don't have the hard wiring. Just like 2s don't have the hard wiring to say, I'm trying to prove my value to you. You won't listen. Mm-hmm. Well, let me just go find it in myself. Like 2s never do that, right?
Yes.
That's what we were talking about. They have to go to 4 to do that. Well, I'll just figure it out myself, right? They never do that. They do not have the tools to do that. So again, and I think that's positive and negative. As a 3, I want to say that's all positive. Like if you can't do one, you can just do the other. But I wonder if it spins you up because you can just constantly avoid the shit, either inward or outward. You can constantly do something about proving your value either to yourself or others. It never gives you a space to be like, maybe we shouldn't be trying to prove our value in the first place. Maybe that's why 3s get so entrenched in their I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of reasons 3s get so entrenched in their image, but pro and a con to be able to switch.
The 4 can establish their value for themselves, can't they? Mm. Isn't that part of the posture?
I imagine so. I think that's part of being internally referenced.
Yeah. It's trying to get your mind and heart in particular around the fact that you do have value. But it has to come from you for the 4.
Yeah.
First.
Yeah.
And I get the sense that like 5s, you get your thinking put in order and then you can act in the world. For 4s, you get your emotional core set in sense of self-worth set, and then you can act in the world. I feel like those are similar.
I think so too.
Love your reflections here. Let's talk about narcissism, Katie.
Okay, yay.
I sat on narcissism for way too long. It was the only thing I could think of for the 3-4. What is the space between these two?
Define narcissism for me, because I might make an argument against it for 4s, but define narcissism for me.
Obsessive self-reference.
Okay, never mind.
It's pushing too far to one side on the self-awareness spectrum. When you like being self-aware has high value, but overly pushing into that space moves into an unhealthy expression, which I'd call narcissism, something like that.
What I would say about that is, if anybody knows Riso and Hudson work, you'll know they have levels of health, and there's 9 total levels of health. Mm-hmm. Level 1 is like you're Buddha and you're Jesus, and then level 9 is, it's for each type, right? Level 9 for each type is associated with an actual pathological, like mental disorder or something like that, right? And that's where I think narcissism is something true to say about this space here, but I would put it like down at level 9.
Yeah, it's
right?
unhealthy expressions.
Like
well, this
super,
is on my
super unhealthy expression.
This is on my low side part of my chart. I got some positives coming up for these.
I just want to put that as far away as possible. And not think about it. So I think that's at the bottom.
At least you don't want other people to know you're narcissistic.
Yeah. I do think if we're defining narcissism, I think when I hear narcissism, I also think this like really high self-confidence ego, but I don't, maybe that's not a part of narcissism. And I would argue 4s don't really have that. But if we're just saying it's obsessive self-reference, then for sure.
I have a running debate with Kelly about whether or not Lady Gaga is a 3 or a 4, to which she says she's a meat dress wearing 4, and my routine response is she lives for the applause. Now, the way that the 3 is maneuvering what can be a truly narcissistic posture is to simply highlight it. Put a lantern on your problem. And just say, I live for the applause. You might as well hook up whatever her line in the song is. I'm gonna have an IV of affection going into my bloodstream, as it were. But again, low side. High side, I think 3s and 4s have the most strategic self-presentation of any of the types. And I think that can be a real value for them and for others. That being thoughtful about how you present can actually be an act of care and service, specifically for those in high office. I want people who care about how they look because you represent the rest of us, and owning that matters. And if you are on the flip side, if you're overly narcissistic, it's all about you standing on stage. You're not serving people through your self-presentation.
Right.
But there are some people who really do a great job of knowing I represent our team, I represent our country, and stepping into that space is, I think 3s and 4s can do that at a very high level.
And I think it's good to, when you are doing it in a healthy way and it's not obsessive or motivated by whatever, really unhealthy things, I think it's good to be able to say, I do bring value to this space, right?
Yep.
Let me prove it to you. You can also bring value to this space. That's what I see in 3s and 4s as well, right? You have value too. 3s and 4s always talk about that. 2s as well. We'll talk about value in others. But like, you should bring your value to this space as well, right? Yes. When 3s and 4s are healthy, they can do that really well.
And to build on that, 3s and 4s have a high radar for differentiation. That is, what is the thing that's new and pops and has meaning and significance and value because it's unlike these other things. So the 3 and 4, both the 3s in particular, can really see into others' worlds and say, let me highlight what is glorious and attractive here that needs to be elevated through your emotions and through your sense of self when you come to the world. That's a real value for a lot of us who just can't find our own worth when it's right there in front of us. It's also why 3s and 4s can be really great. That's a bad word, but like advertisers, as it were, that they're seeking differentiation and elevating those things that are special. So on the best front, the radar for what's special and needs to be advocated for the rest of us is something that I see coming out of 3s and 4s. So my wife, when doing American history, hits all the people who have crazy value who never get highlighted. So for example, after the Civil War, the Deep South was the first to have a person of color as their representative in the U.S. Congress because everybody else was still rejecting the U.S. federal government. So the people who actually swore allegiance to America ended up being a bunch of black folk, and they sent a representative. And so she ends up highlighting how amazing this man is, how courageous this man is. Here are some of the speeches that he gave in the face of well-entrenched white interests, even northern white interests, on the Senate floor. And it's just has a radar for that sort of thing. And that's it's something that 3s and 4s bring that nobody else does.
Agreed. I think it was such a good story that I don't have anything to add to it. I think it illustrated what you wanted to do.
Well, if you have a radar for what's amazing, then I'll take it. 4s and 5s. I love this pairing. This pairing is infinitely fascinating to me, especially when you get 4s and 5s talking to each other. What do you see here?
I see. So again, we're across the line between two centers. So you're not going to share your center of intelligence, but you will share your stance. So 4s and 5s are both withdrawn. You have an internal reference point. You're doing repressed. So you're just doing stuff inside of you before you bring it out into the world. Both of you are doing that. It's just that you're doing diametrically opposite things. And I love this pairing as well. And when I sent my notes to you, I couldn't think of a good word for this space. And it's because this space is so like...
so private.
If I can use the word, it's private, but if I can use the word spiritual without any like religious context to that, but like whimsical,
disembodied.
Not even whimsical, disembodied. It's so disembodied that I couldn't come up with one single word that felt appropriate to get all of it under the scope of like one single word, because it feels so big and like in your head and in your heart and like so separated from the physical world that I couldn't think of a word. So I don't know if you came up with a word.
Yeah.
But my word for this is question mark. That's what I put in my little notes. I said question mark. I can't think of a good word for this. And then I said the space is very whimsical and very internal. So I don't know what your thoughts are there.
I sent a note back saying they're ghosts. They're disembodied. They live in the rumination space.
Yeah. Ooh, rumination. That's good.
They live on that line. And for me, I love characterizing those who live on the line, describing them with the two centers, their primary and secondary center. So 4s feel their thoughts and 5s think about their feelings. And that, I think, is a good description, shorthand, of what's the activity of the inner life of these types is. It's a ruminating. It's very private, inward processing, as you said. Just it's going to be dominant there. So that they share that in common, that they are very, very comfortable with the internal space. And even the internal space is more real than the physical world.
You know what another good word for B would be? The observer, maybe, for both of these numbers. It's just you're observing completely different things, right? Mm-hmm.
It's true.
So in my notes, I said it's this space between 4 and 5. It's discovering who you are and also what the world is. Mm-hmm. And like 4s want to dissect everybody's feelings, right? And the connection between people and what things mean. Again, to bring up significance with the significance of things. 5s also want to dissect. 5s want to dissect the world. They want to understand the world. They want to understand how it works. 5s talk to me about wanting to understand how people work, right? A lot of 5s come to the Enneagram because they want a framework to tell them how to interact with people better. Like I've had several 5s tell me that, right? So both these numbers are curious about how things work. It's just that the tools to figure out how this works is different. One of them is using subjectivity, the 4s. One of them is using objectivity, the 5s. Yep. But you're kind of doing the same thing, you know. You're just breaking it apart in different ways. And then my last note, this space is about wholly trusting something other than your body and physical intuition. So you're either totally in your heart or you're totally in your head.
I want to push back against both those.
Mm-hmm.
But I think this is a place that you and I dialogue around a lot. Maybe we should spend time at some point, since the kids are asking for debate. Maybe we should highlight the subjective, objective side of things, because of all things, I see those terms really blending well in the discussion between these two. So there is something, like, I think the 4 recognizes that they come with this subjective emotion about these objective feelings, because those feelings are real.
Feelings aren't objective.
They are objective in the sense, well, if I say that I am feeling angry, that's meant to be a statement of fact, yeah?
Objective refers to information based on factual, verifiable data, free from personal bias, emotions, or interpretation. So anything to do with your emotions is inherently subjective. It doesn't mean it's bad or wrong or shouldn't be treated with respect.
Yep. I'm not saying
it's not objective.
If I say that Katie is feeling sad, I'm seeking to put forth a statement of fact that other people can observe and relate to as
Sure.
they do to other facts.
Sure.
And so that's what I mean.
Draw back to 4s and 5s. What are we arguing?
There is the subjective processing and there is the objective reality. Those are in relationship to one another at some level. I think the 4 is aware that they subjectively come to an objective world, but part of the objective world is their emotions. Those are real and tangible. Like those, it would be factual to say, I'm feeling sad, I'm feeling happy. But you have a subjective experience of those states of affairs.
And then what are 5s doing?
I think 5s come with the filter of analysis first, but they understand that one of the things that their analysis, which is seeking to be objective, targets is these subjective experiences. So I think that this came out all over our 5 panel discussion I had recently, where they are observing how they're feeling. And like those feelings are real, potent, and they hold them with high regard and value. But they do understand that they are personal experiences. They're not out there. Their sadness doesn't infect other people, as it were. And the relationship that the 4 and 5 have, I think, with the world can be characterized in that way. You can notice acting in the world is 1,000 miles away from this discussion right now. Mm-hmm. It's all about I'm feeling my thoughts or I'm thinking about my feeling. And that's the marriage, the interplay between the objective and the subjective. And I think that's taking place as part of the ruminating process. It's a yin yang for the 4-5. It's like they're moving in diametrically opposite positions, but engaging the same topics.
And what are you seeing me say that you're disagreeing with before I respond?
What I've heard in your language is that in a lot of folks' languages, they want to sever the 4 and 5. There's a gap here. 4s are entirely emotional. 5s are entirely intellectual in nature. And I think that misses something really important, because the topic, the topic that the 4s are feeling is they're thinking about the world. And what the 5 is thinking about is their emotional experience of the world.
So we say that your Enneagram number is the funnel through which you take the world, right? Through which you take in the world.
Yeah.
Absolutely. There are things out in the world that are objective and there are things out in the world that are subjective. All numbers take both of those things in. Your Enneagram number, thinking about your feelings, is employing objectivity about something that is subjective. But that thing that's subjective is just the information you're taking in. And your Enneagram number has nothing to do with the information you're taking in. We all take in information. Your Enneagram number is how you are choosing to take that information in.
Correct.
And 5s choose to take in all information, whether it be objective or subjective, through an objective lens, as much as a human being can, right? That's another
Correct.
thing that you and I disagree on.
No, I think that's right.
Right.
They highly value pushing
highly
into
value. We all think, we all feel, we all do. Sure, right? 5s
primary
do have access to subjectivity. But I have just heard 4s and 5s. I've had 4s tell me objectivity feels so far away from me. They're like, doing feels further. But being able to be objective about the information that's coming in feels so far away from me. And I think 5s would agree. Being willing to be subjective about something feels so far away from a 5. I very rarely see 5s being willing to be subjective about something.
It's not that they're subjective, it's that they're analyzing their subjective experience.
But that's using objectivity. And
analyzing
is objectivity.
I'm saying that the two are inextractable. Objectivity and subjectivity for these types are in a dance. And you can't say 5s are wholly objective without any subjective experience. So for example, my wife and 5 child got together And eventually, my 5 child wanted to say that his high school girlfriend has a new partner. He felt that. And he wanted to analyze it because it produced emotions in him that needed talking about. So too, the 4 feels the feelings at a very high level and then wants to understand them. I think I would want to characterize it as that in that way. Go ahead.
So if anyone's hearing me saying that 5s don't have feelings, that's not what I'm saying. And 4s don't have thoughts, that's not what I'm saying. 5s, when they have a feeling, they use objective tools to analyze it. That's what I'm saying. But that's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. 5s are never subjective about their feelings, right? They never employ subjective tools to like dance and sing and learn from their emotions. They objectively analyze their emotions. That's not being subjective. That is applying objectivity to something that is inherently subjective. But the hard wiring that you have, what is your personality number, is the objectivity that you are applying to that subjective thing.
Yeah.
I don't know if that makes sense. I think
that's what I'm saying.
That's what I'm saying. I think we just say it.
We're in agreement.
That doesn't mean 5s are not subjective to me. 5s experience subjective things, sure. But what it is to employ the 5 personality, that 5 personality does not use any subjective tools. It's all objective tools.
I bet that a 5 can say objectively, I'm having a subjective experience right now.
Sure.
And they can push into that subjective experience and value it.
Sure. Using objective tools.
Subjectively, they can say, I'm happy right now. And my happiness matters. And I can value my happiness.
Yeah. I've just heard 5s talk about they want to understand their feelings. Like part of a growth for a 5 is to understand that you don't have to understand where your feelings come from. You don't have to understand what caused them and what do they mean, right? But like the objective like categorization of your feelings, that's an objective way to experience a feeling. To categorize it, what does it mean? Where did it come from, right? A subjective way to experience that feeling would just be to experience it, which is what 4s do. Right?
See, this is why we need to talk about this at length. I
don't know if any of the... We should talk about it at length. But
to wrap it up, the rumination, I think, occurs in both situations. Yeah. And what I would want to push into is how are these 2 types, 4s and 5s, seeking to get control of their inner world? One is very analytic and one is very... I'm positioning my emotional core to do business with my experiences.
Yeah.
But
it
both
is...
of them are separate.
It's a sharing... I've taken something in and I want to do something with it.
Yeah.
Right? I want to cut it apart in some way. Right? Again, it's either analytical or whatever other word we're using to avoid using the word subjective. But it's something. Something's coming in and I'm going to do something with it before it goes back out. Right? This is the only wing pairing or whatever where you're both internal or internal referenced, internal processors. So
yep,
you're going to do something with information before you put it back out.
On the positive side for 4s and 5s, the list that hit me is that I think 4s and 5s are often great communicators when they speak.
Yeah. Yes. Because they've done the business with the thing before they speak about it.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think that comes out of their high aptitude for analysis. I think both of them analyze things, very different filters, but high aptitude. I think that they trust what the outcome of their assessment is.
Yes.
Very different from 6s, for example.
Yeah.
But once a 4 or 5 has done the analysis, they generally believe the analysis.
Yeah. And that's okay. So to bring up, not to bring up subjectivity again, but it's not going to be an argument. But 4s, something people will say about 4s is that 4s might not remember actually what happened, but they do remember how they felt right? So when fours tell a story about something that happened 20 years ago, if you were there, you might be thinking, that is not what happened, right? But the point of the story is that this is how it made the four feel, right? And the fours trust that. They know how that experience made them feel because they spent so much time with it. The actual facts don't really matter that much, right? But this is how I felt, and you cannot change how I felt about that thing. So that's the story I'm telling you is not what happened, although that's what it sounds like I'm saying. The story I'm telling you is how I felt.
Some of the facts of the matter in that experience were the emotions that I felt.
Yeah.
That would be where I'm bringing in the way that the four would wrestle with objectivity is inserting that as part of the spectrum of facts of the event.
Yeah.
Is how people experienced it emotionally in the moment.
Yes. Yeah.
The feeling, it needs to be thought through. So when I'm saying they feel their thoughts, that's what's going on.
Yes. Agreed.
Last thing for me is I think that 4s and 5s bond easily over shared insights.
Yeah.
And that's a real strength.
Yeah. And I think I've had a lot of 5s tell me that, people think I don't care about their emotions, but I really do. I just don't want to have to work through them with you. And so I imagine that 4s and 5s would also get along because the 4 will share how they feel. You know what I mean? And 5s do enjoy knowing how you felt. Anyway, I agree with you. I do think they share this they kind of balance each other out, I imagine, 4s and 5s.
Hasn't been stated recently, but I would love to elevate just again, there's some of us who have relationships who are 4s with 5s and notice how some of this language kind of colors, here's the dynamic of our relationship. So just the 4s and 5s sitting in a room, ruminating is a way of connection when they share. Here's what's going on inside me. That can be a place of deep connection.
Yeah.
Got time for one more pairing?
I do.
5s and 6s. I loved this pairing. This actually took me some places. What do you think about 5s and 6s?
So we're back in sharing a center. So both 5s and 6s are in the thinking center, the head center. And what you're going to share is an internal direction. So the world is scary and you have to prepare yourself against the world. The world is uncertain, I'll say. Not a lot of people relate to the world is scary. The world is uncertain. And I have to prepare myself internally for what might happen. So I have to take in resources for what might happen. So the word that I used for this pairing is preparation. Both numbers prepare for the unknown in similar ways. They're both hoarding resources. And again, 7s, we talk about hoarding resources as well. We'll get to this when we get to 7s, but what 7s are hoarding is like experiences, which feels different to me than what 5s and 6s are doing. 5s are hoarding knowledge, and 6s do it in their relationships and their connections with people. And that feels more like an internal thing that you carry within yourself versus the 7 is trying to like jump from thing to thing in the outside world. So 5s and 6, they're both hoarding resources in an attempt to shield themselves from the uncertainty of the world. So it's a held belief between these two numbers that the world is able to overtake you as you are. So you have to kind of bolster yourself with something in order to kind of combat that. 5s are going to do it with knowledge. Again, 6s are going to do it with people. But they're doing the same thing. Anyway, what are your thoughts?
That's what hit me as well. Is the relationship that these two types have to their underlying feeling really influences a lot of behavior and their posture in the world. That may be obvious for all the types, but what I see is that 5s and 6s seem to me to be the types that can be the easiest to feel like they're overwhelmed by what's coming at them when there's truly something coming at them. That is, when the fear is there can be a difficulty acting productively for both types. I think 6s can act, but not productively, and 5s might solidify.
Yeah.
I think that both these types are uncomfortable with their emotions at times, and that it's worth naming that The fives, in analyzing their emotions, may see them as the problem. And sixes, the emotions can just be this wave that hits them. And so what do you do with your emotions, I think is a big challenge for both these types.
Yeah. And which emotions, like sixes, I hear, which emotions can I trust, right? Emotions are really important to sixes. They're in that emotionally responsive triad. So it's not that it's important to know what they feel for a six, but I do think sixes definitely get overwhelmed with how much they feel and how much they want to know about what other people feel. And like, it's a lot of information to take in, right? And all of it feels important. So like, what do I do?
That's exactly it. When problems emerge for fives and sixes, the emotions are the turning point for how they're going to solve the problem. The five is going to seek to push down the emotions because the emotions are the problem. They get in the way of objectivity and insight. For the six, the emotions are these things they're holding, and they need other people to validate them. They need other people to see those emotions and be on their team in terms of experiencing similar emotions. And by getting people to see your emotions, the six thinks that they're shoring up their resources for confronting whatever it is the cause of those emotions.
Right. And I think one thing I would add for fives, not to go against what you just said, but to change it a little bit. Certainly there probably are some fives out there that say emotions are a problem. My emotions are a problem. What I wonder might be more true is that they're not necessarily a problem, but they're just not relevant here, right? Like that's that competency triad. We can get to the feelings later. None of us ever want to get to the feelings later, but it's not that the feelings don't matter. They're not important. They're just not important right now while we're solving this problem.
I think they may say that to you. That's not what they believe.
I think so, because I'm also in that competency triad, right? So that's a really important point. That's what it feels like to us.
Sales pitch.
And I think the actual truth is the feelings are the problem. We don't want to deal with them. But just if anyone's listening, if you're a 1, 3, or 5, you might relate more to, I don't think they're a problem. I just don't think they're relevant. And what Jeff's saying is correct. Maybe that does mean that they are a problem.
They get in the way of the data.
Whatever. They get in the way of the data, absolutely. Or they are the data.
So I wanted to, this would be a tricky spot for fives, is understanding that some of the emotions are the data and that your biases are influenced by your emotion. So you're very, what you're calling objectivity, this would be what cognitive bias is. Like what you think is objectivity is highly susceptible to how you feel about things. Setting that aside for a second, the problem solving for 1s, 3s, and 5s is to say emotions are going to get in the way of us actually achieving the ends that we want. Doing what's right, taking hold of the goal, really clinging to the data. 1, 3, 5. That would be where I'm trying to say that the 5 thinks that emotions can undercut the objectivity that does solve problems.
Agreed.
And makes us safe.
Yeah.
That's what I got for things that are kind of negative on the 5-6 front.
Yeah, what about the pros?
I think both of these types push hard for understanding. More than others. I think that they are voracious on this front. I think both 5s and 6s are skeptical of authority, and that can be both a negative, but it can also be a real positive. And I think 5s and 6s, because of their high desire for security, are going to be very aware of their foundation and resources in a different way than 7s are. I think the resources are much more tangible for 5s and 6s. Yes.
That's the word I was looking for. 5s and 6s see things. I'm especially thinking about 6s because 6s are feelers, right? They are concerned with relationships, connection. They process in the heart center, all the things. But they start in the head center with 5s, which means they analyze information. And I'm just, the 5s and 6s in my life, that's who I can go to when I need like a rundown of what's really going on. without a lot of ego attached to it, or like,
ooh,
you know what I mean? Like they can just
they're
kind
not
of
inserting
give
themselves.
the facts.
Yeah.
Yes. That's what 5 and 6 share.
Yeah.
To me, you know, I will say for 6s, maybe that's a little bit of a like 6s can dip into ego for sure. Especially if they're a little stressed or whatever, but 5s for sure, we say, are the neutral observer. Like they can give you a rundown of anything, but they're not paying attention to relationships like 6s do. So if you need a rundown of a relationship or like what's going on in this room, like something's going on, I don't understand what's going on. 6s, no. They're paying attention. They're focused, right? They have the info. And so that's what I see in 5s and 6s. They're just constantly taking in this stuff and they have it if you need it.
I love that. All right, we got 4 more pairings for perhaps a future episode. What say you?
Mm-hmm.
I knew that this would have some depth once we cracked the net open a little bit, and didn't disappoint. Any epiphanies come up for you worth naming before we sign off, big picture wise, as you've gone through these pairings?
What comes up for me, it didn't come up when I was writing this, but when I think about wings and numbers that are next to each other or whatever, I could tell that I was learning more about Enneagram once I could talk about how these numbers are similar. Like once I started understanding why 3s and 4s were next to each other, right? And what that meant.
Yeah. It showed you more of the heart.
That showed me more of the heart, right?
Yeah.
And it deepened the Enneagram for me.
Yeah.
And so I think this is a good, I just think this is a good exercise in like, how well do you understand the Enneagram, right? Can you talk about, if someone asked you, hey, I'm really struggling between 6 and 7, like, what do you think? Could you talk about how those are so similar, right? Because for a long time, there were certainly different parts of the Enneagram where I was like, why are these numbers right next to each other? Like even 1 and 2 for a long time, I was like, why are they so different? Why are they next to each other? Well, they're next to each other for a reason, right? And so this has been a fun exercise for me just to like remember why the Enneagram is set up the way it is, right? So it's not really an epiphany, but that's what was fun for me while doing this, was remembering how all of these are connected and the things they share and how similar they really can look. Did you have any?
Similar, much more the centers than the stances, although I suppose we haven't gotten into the pairings of the stances, have we? With
4 and 5, 1 and 2 and 4 and 5.
We did with 4 and 5, and I suppose it came up with 4 and 5.
Mm-hmm.
The centers really popped for me, and I generally just move past the centers because I find sometimes they're difficult to explain, and let's get into the things that you can actually see, like problem solving and stance. But if you were actually to talk about a person and some of the really core stuff in general, it's probably right to say center is where you begin, and that's what kind of came up for me. Well done. We'll pick this up next time.
Yep.
Well, you're the best.
You are.
Somebody told me that if you look closely, you can see the color of another man.